Hey, this is Tyler with Turf Teq, and today we're going to be going over the belt tension for the Model 1304. So we're talking about the fixed frame Model 1304 Turf Teq bed edger. I get a lot of calls about, how do I tension the belt properly on this thing, or it's not getting enough tension and the blade isn't getting enough power. And I wanted to go over the process that we go through here at the factory to set these things properly. So just kind of want to go over, what we look for and things to look out for, things to keep an eye on, because this process, admittedly, is it's a little in depth, and there is some parts of the process that are kind of open to interpretation, and you kind of just have to, use your best judgment when it comes to setting this thing up, because no two machines are exactly alike. It's that's less than ideal, but I wish they were all the same. But I wanted to show you some helpful tips on how we set them here at the factory to make sure that they're operating correctly. So the first thing I'm looking for when I start these machines up, you can see I actually have this zip tied down right now, and I'll show you what that's about here in a minute. But what I'm looking for when I start the machine up and when I'm firing the blade up, so when I start to engage this, of course this normally is going to be like this. It's going to be disengaged. When you fire the machine up, of course, have the blade cover on. We're just showing this for your demonstration purposes here, but have the blade guard on, because it's very dangerous to run the machine without it. But what I'm looking for, and I'll show you this a little bit later in the video, is I want, so I have the throttle up, as soon as I touch this to start to engage it, I want to see that blade hit max speed. A lot of the issues that I hear about, if the belt's worn out or it's not set correctly, is that the blade tends to spool up slowly and it doesn't quite have enough power, and that should not be the case at all. When this thing is set correctly, again, you touch this thing when the engine's running and that blade will hit full speed almost immediately, within a second. Now, to come back to what we're actually looking for underneath on the machine here, let's see if I can do this one-handed to get this guy back on here. So a lot of times it helps to have a zip tie. I like to zip tie this down so I can look underneath the machine and show you what I'm looking for there. I'm going to rock the machine back here, make it easier to see. I'm going to explain the adjustment points. So there's three different adjustment points here. So we've got the clutch cable adjustment. So the further you have this top collar slid down, the tighter it's going to effectively pull the cable. It's going to start to engage the cable earlier, and overall it's going to give you more pull on the cable itself. But you can't just go for full bore with that adjustment, because it'll start to engage it too soon and then the blade will never stop spinning. So key thing that I'm looking for here is, so we've got this adjustment pin here. I'm not sure if you can see. These two are just about touching. In fact, these two are actually touching. Now, that's okay if they're touching lightly when the cable is engaged up top. Again, we've got it set to on, machine not running, of course. And you look underneath here, these two can just be barely touching. Normally, I'd like to see being able to just squeeze a dollar bill in between those two. Have some level of clearance in here between the pin and this bracket. Now, there's a couple of adjustments here. So this pin sits in a slot. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this because of the lighting out here, but it sits in a slot. So if you go too far that way, it's gonna always have the belt partially engaged, even when the handle's disengaged. So you can't go too far that way. You also can't come too far towards the camera here, because it'll effectively push this bracket out and cause, instead of this pulling straight back with the clutch cable, when you pull the clutch cable, it engages this arm. Instead of pulling straight back, it'll pull at an angle, and that won't give you enough pull on this pulley. And again, you can see that sluggish action in the blade where it spools up slowly. That's a symptom of that. Now, so we've got an adjustment in this pin. Then what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually adjustment in this pulley as well. So this takes a 15/16 socket. So socket or box end wrench, 15/16 on top, 15/16 on the bottom. And what is going to be very hard to show here, just see it there, that's in a slot as well. So we want to, sometimes you need to cheat it a little bit further in. If we're not getting proper engagement, if we're not, you know, seeing that belt or seeing the blade hit full speed immediately, you want to loosen. First off, disengage up here at the top with the clutch cable, and then loosen this bolt up, loosen the bolt nut up here, and then just slide it in just a little bit. You want to make small adjustments. With anything you do underneath here, you just need to pick one, do an adjustment, check it, and see how it works. So you don't want to be making pin adjustments and adjustments on the pulley and where it sits in the slot. Again, that's where you start making too many changes and you start losing track, and then all of a sudden everything's out of whack, and you know, then it's very hard to quote unquote start back from zero. You know, you want to just move one thing at a time, see what the adjustment does. It should only take, you know, depending on how many adjustments you need to do, it might take 25 minutes to make all the adjustments, just to check and make sure everything's operating correctly. Now, so we've got that adjustment, we've got this pin adjustment, and then we've also got the clutch cable, the collar adjustment up top, which effectively controls how much pull you have on this guy. So again, this is kind of an art form rather than a science. You just have to, a lot of times what the issue is caused by is this pulley not being far in enough, or if you see that this this bracket here is being pulled sideways, if it's being pulled this way and back at the same time, okay, now we need to move this in a little bit. We need to move that pin in a little bit. Again, small adjustments, and that will help you to, you know, get closer to what it's supposed to be. All right, well, with that covered, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start up the machine. I'm going to sit it back down. We're going to start up the machine, and I'm going to show you what it should look like when the blade, or when the clutch engagement is set. All right, so we've got the machine running, and what we're going to go over right now is just showing you how the blade should react when we hit the clutch engagement lever. So again, I want to be very clear, you should never run the machine without the guarding on it. This is just for explanation, you know, just for educational purposes, if you will. But just want to show you guys what this should look like. So we're going to throttle up here a little bit, and then if we can still see the blade a little, there we go. As soon as we hit that, full speed. Now I know the camera might make the blade speed look a little wonky, but as soon as we touch that, it should go max speed on the blade. Might even be better to just keep an eye on the double belts on the arm. See, as soon as we're on it, full speed. That's how we make sure that it's acting like we expect. Now you can see here, this blade, or the belt, is still going past the pulley a little bit. Not sure if that'll show up on camera well, but it's still moving past that pulley, but not enough to actually move the blade. So the blade might get a little twitch every once in a while, but the belt should be slipping past it. So you saw there move just a touch. And that's what we want, because that means it is as close to being engaged while it's disengaged as we can possibly get and still operate the machine safely. Because we want to make sure that the blade must stop whenever you're disengaged on the clutch to ensure safety for the operator and people around you. That's the most important part. But then again, as soon as you hit this guy, full speed, and it should come to a stop there. All right, so that's been kind of the, well, it's a long-winded overview, but wanted to give everyone an overview of what exactly we're looking for when we set these things from the factory, because it's really important for belt life and getting the proper operation out of the machine to have this belt set correctly. Again, it's one of those issues that pops up every once in a while. People call in for tech support, and I just wanted to make sure that we covered it here of what we're looking for. And it's much easier to explain it with a video than to try and explain it over the phone about, especially with the pins and the adjustment of the pulley. But if you have any questions, or if anything in the video needs any clarification, you're always welcome to give us a call. We're always happy to walk through it with you and talk about if you are having any issues. Of course, please give us a call. Even if you think that it's an issue, give us a call. We'll talk through it, see if everything's operating properly or how we can fix it. Thanks for watching, and again, this has been Tyler with Turf Teq. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.